Hey, my name is Lizzie Smiley, and I absolutely love helping people connect with their calling and all the tools they need to kick roadblocks and excuses right out the door so they can cultivate the life they dream about. If you want to launch, grow, pivot, or scale your Etsy shop, or you've always wanted to develop the mindset and skills to run your own business, then I'm your girl. I've had that entrepreneurial spirit going strong since my very first lemonade stand, and now I'm a work-at-home mama with multiple online companies and a full-time Etsy shop, all while being present with my kids for the everyday chaos and most important milestones. On this podcast, we'll talk about all things business, mindset, Etsy, creativity, dazzling our customers, and so much more. There's plenty of room at this table for you, so scooch on in and let's go. I'm holding nothing back. Welcome to How to Sell Your Stuff on Etsy. I'm so glad you're here. Hey, you guys, welcome back to the show this week. I hope 2025 is kicking off really well for you. Hope you're feeling motivated. Have you been getting some work in? Have you been planning for your Etsy shop, your other side hustle projects? If you're anything like me, it's been a bit of both, right? I still have the kids home from school, and so the schedule is not normal yet. But at the same time, the husband's been off a little more, so I've gotten some more pockets of time to work and plan and goal set and get things in place. So super fun. I'm enjoying it. I hope you are too. And for everyone who is new here, welcome. I'm so excited that you decided to click play. I'm so excited that you're considering or you've started an Etsy shop, and I hope that we will be Etsy BFFs. I am one of those people who I just really believe that there is more than enough room at this table for you. I want you to be here. I want you to succeed, and I want to do everything I can to help you. And we have the most amazing community. The How to Sell Your Stuff family is they're like the sweetest, most helpful, most upbeat people on the entire internet. We are all just like fangirling for each other, rooting for each other, hyping each other up. So hopefully that's you too, and you're in really good company. And I just really wanted to, I have like a kind of an outline for today, but I really wanted to talk about how to start an Etsy shop in 2025 and talk to that person who's like totally new to this, because it can feel daunting and there's so much content out there to sift through. And sometimes it's nice to just have a really like beginner conversation. So to my OGs, I hope it's not stale for you. I'm like, oh, there's fluff on my microphone. If you're new here, you'll learn that I'm undiagnosed ADHD and go down all kinds of rabbit trails. So if you were not watching on YouTube, I was just picking fluff off of my microphone. But I just want to talk through what it's like for that new person and kind of give you some words of advice, like talk about maybe some things I see people do wrong when they get started, like maybe save you some time there, maybe help you decide what it is you're going to sell, and like kind of give you like that, I don't know, the information and the courage and the confidence you need to just open that shop and get started. So that is our plan for today. And if you're feeling really overwhelmed by it all, if it's just like, oh my gosh, like this feels like a big step. I don't even know how committed I am. I don't even know really what I want to sell yet. I just want to encourage you, like, you're not choosing the person you're going to marry and spend the rest of your life with. This is just a side hustle. And hopefully, like it was for me, this was like, I tried so many side hustles, like for years and years. How many years will you think? So 2008 until 26, I can never remember if it was 2015 or 2016. I think it was 2016 when I opened my Etsy shop. All of those years, I'm not even going to do the math. It's a lot of years. I tried a lot of different side husles. Like I won't even go through the list, but like all of the standard stuff, the blogging, the network marketing, the things, all of the things. Definitely tried e-commerce without Etsy. And Etsy was the first place that I cracked it. I always had this itch to like be my own boss. I always had this desire and this thing, like, I know there's more in me. I know I can do this. And nothing worked. And finally, Etsy, it gave me enough structure. This is what I hope it does for you too. It gave me enough structure. It gave me enough, like it took enough off of my plate that I could learn what I needed to get good at Etsy. And now I feel like, especially with the tools we have available, like Everbee, I could sell anything on Etsy. It's such a great beginner platform, but it's also such a great scaling platform. But then from there, so then you master those skills and then you layer on top of it and you learn other things like how to run your own website if you want to, or how to do social media. But like if you're just starting today, I want to encourage you. You do not need to start an Instagram or any kind of social media. You don't need to go figure out how you're going to build a brand. You don't need to build your own website. Like, all you need to do as a super, super, super beginner is figure out Etsy. And you don't even need to figure out all of Etsy. I'm going to tell you what you need to do. So, again, this is not the biggest commitment of your life. This is one of those things where you need to allow yourself and trust yourself to learn as you go. Because if you're like me, I want to have everything figured out before I even hit open on the store. And this isn't going to work like that. That's not going to work. Instead, you need to just what is it? Martin Luther King Jr. said, you don't have to see the whole staircase. You just have to take the first step. So that's what we're talking today. And I'm hoping I'm going to give you enough, kind of confidence and knowledge to take the first step, because that's really what you need to do. And you need to learn while you earn. So I kind of want to start some of the most important things to start with, because I don't know how far you're going to get through this episode. I tend to be wordy. I want to tell you what not to do, because there can be a problem with new sellers getting their shop suspended on Etsy. If you go into some of the really negative Facebook groups, or you go on Reddit, you can hear all kinds of horror stories. But listen, this is 2025. We don't need that energy. We need positive energy. We need what works. We need what to do, what not to do. That is my approach to things. I will always level with you and tell you the truth, but I am not going to spend a bunch of time in the muck and the negativity. We're going to focus on the positivity. So, first of all, Etsy owns their platform. It's not your own website. It's theirs. And it is a privilege for us to get to use it. Is it perfect? By no means. Do I have beef with Etsy? Yeah, wait till next week's episode. But it is a spectacular platform, and they do get to make the rules. So while in most cases, we tend to ignore reading the handbook, we tend to ignore reading the terms and conditions and things like that. This is one of those cases where you want to make sure you know the rules. I feel like Etsy's done a good job of articulating them. Their house rules aren't super cumbersome. It's not so much legalese you can't get through it. Make sure you know the rules, because a lot of new shops will get suspended when they don't. They'll lose their shop. Sometimes those can be gotten back. Actually, more shop suspensions are retrieved, and it just takes a few weeks. It's really annoying. It takes a long time. It's scary, in the sense of you're feel like you don't know what's going to happen. But if you break a rule, and you could actually lose access as a shopper too. Your IP address would be banned from them. So just understand what the rules are. They're not that hard. And read them. This is the one time I actually want you to make sure you go and you read the thing before you click I agree to the terms and conditions. Secondly, when you open your shop, I think this is more of a problem overseas, but I do know sometimes even people here in the US, we worry about privacy. Understandably, we worry about big companies having too much information about us. We try to find ways to hide things. When you open your Etsy shop, be completely honest about who you are and your personal data. Your bank account, all of that stuff that they ask you for, so that they can deposit into it. That's another thing that tends to get shops suspended or taken away or cause a problem, is when people are not completely honest about their identity when they're setting up their Etsy shop. That can get you into trouble. And then the third thing, the third thing, not the last, but the third, be honest about how you make your products. Etsy is basically a handmade platform. There are there are some nuances to that, but what you can't go buy a bunch of stuff from, Alibaba or Temu or a manufacturer or whatever, and then just drop ship it. That's not allowed on Etsy. You can use third-party help. We're going to talk about that, but you have to disclose it. So some shops will get in trouble when they don't disclose who they're working with to create their product. But the product has to either be designed, basically be designed by you if it's not made by you. You can't just go buy bulk. So you have to disclose the third party, if you have a third party manufacturer or you're a print on demand shop, we'll talk about that soon. You have to disclose it. Also, if you use AI for any of your process, you have to disclose that. It's also allowed. Third party help is allowed, and AI is allowed. I want to say all but one of my shops right now use AI in some part of the process to create the product. It's a great tool. You just have to disclose it. So be completely honest about how you make your product. And then the fourth thing that can get you in trouble is breaking intellectual property laws. And this causes a lot of confusion, because if you go and you shop on Etsy, you'll see a ton of stuff that's like Disney or Taylor Swift Or what are did you ever read The Frog and the Toad when you were little? It's a cute book. Like characters from books or characters from like um, brands and characters and lyrics and images and things that were created by other people. Those are their intellectual property. If the only reason that someone on Etsy would see something you make and buy it is because they recognize it from something else, sports teams is a big one. Someone else owns that intellectual property and you can't make money off of it. It looks like you can because there's a lot of shops on Etsy that do. But when you're scrolling through the feed and you see those listings there, it all looks like you can, but you're not there. Like we don't all get like an email notice when their shop gets taken down or that person gets sued for someone else's IP violation. So like literally someone could be flying under the radar, like selling something Disney for years and they don't get caught right away. Well, they still, if they get sued, have to pay for all of the income they made over those years. So just don't do it. It's not worth it. That's something that gets people in a lot of trouble. So like even just this first 10 minutes of hearing like these things don't do is going to save you a lot of time and trouble. You just don't see when those shops get taken down. In order to use someone else's, like to use a sports team logo or name, to use something from Taylor Swift or something from Disney, you have to pay for licensing. It's very, very expensive. Some shops do it, which is why you'll see like massive shops that have, 1 million sales or hundreds of thousands of reviews. They might be a big part of a bigger company and they might pay for licensing to be able to sell those things. And they're paying a percentage to whoever created it. And then they're making their part. The ones that are there that will ultimately get closed or sued, they usually have less than 100 reviews. They might have a couple thousand sales because what happens is the lawyers for these people or these companies, they come through, on different schedules. Maybe it's once a quarter, or maybe they do a sweep twice a year, or maybe they do it once a month. It's going to vary, but they come through and that's when the big shutdowns happen. All right, I'll get off that soapbox, but if those are like the 4 things that you have to make sure that you like do/don't do. And I think that's a really, really important place to start. So next up, I want to talk about like, I think I was kind of chewing on like, if you're going to start for the first time and you're really, really new to all of this, the first thing you really need to think about is what are your goals? Because like, let's say you and I were sitting down one-on-one, like having coffee and chatting, and I was just giving you advice. I would be like, all right, well, like, what do you want to accomplish? Because that's going to determine what I'm going to tell you. There are a lot of different ways to do this. And so I think the first question is, what kind of money do you want this to make for you? Does it not really matter? Like, is this just really a creative outlet that's fun for you? That's one way to approach it. Do you want to make just a little extra money? You want it to be fun, but you want to make extra money for, date nights or shopping or travel or what, or, a nest egg, whatever it is. Or are you like, no, I'd really like this to be a full-time income. Like my dream would be to like replace my 9-to-5 job or, be able to like pay off a ton of debt. Like I need this to be like I would say $5,000 plus per month, or I want to build a multiple 6-figure income. How you answer that is going to determine kind of where you go next. And let me give you some marching orders. So if this is really just like a fun creative outlet, a hobby, like you just need something like to work with your hands, or just even if it's designing on the computer, you need something fun. If it makes money, great. If it doesn't, no big deal. Then actually a lot of what I'm going to say today won't necessarily apply. Some of it will. It's still worth it to listen in because you're going to hear some tips that'll help you. But I think that if that's you and you just want a creative outlet, you need to just go like search on Etsy, or if you already have an idea of what you want to make, and just make it. The problem comes in, well, people will get frustrated is they say they want a creative outlet, but they're really not okay if it doesn't make money, like it needs to make money, and they don't pay attention to the thing that they wanted to create and if there's any demand for it. I mean, are shoppers coming to Etsy for that product? And believe it or not, there are products more than you'd expect that no one's shopping for on Etsy. And so that's where you can run into hot water. If you are looking to just make a little extra side income, it's going to kind of depend on what you choose to do. If you're going to choose to do a physical product, you can probably accomplish that with, I don't know, I'd say anywhere from like $10 to 50 listings, just some little side income coming in. You're not going to be too overwhelmed. You'll still be able to enjoy, but you'll get to like move some orders, on the weekends or in the evenings. That can vary though. It's going to depend, right? It's going to depend on the product, on the demand for the product. Also, I'll tell you, there are some people who come to Etsy and they create something so in demand and so hard for anyone else to copy that they've got 1 to 3 listings and that's their whole income. So it does kind of depend on the product. But that's kind of what you're aiming for. If you're like, I don't know, a couple extra $100 a month to a couple $1,000 a month, yeah, I'd say work on getting your first 10 listings up and keep going. And I wouldn't stop until you're at, 30 to 50. And then it's going to go up quite a bit if you want to make a full-time income out of a physical product. You're going to be looking at a couple hundred listings more than likely, again, depending on what you're selling, is how you're going to push for that full-time income. If you are here right away being like, no, I want to make as much money as I possibly can. This is going to help me get out of my job, or this is going to help me pay off lots of debt, or this is going to help me, build a 6-figure income that I've always wanted. Then you need to come into this with like a big scale in mind. Okay. There's going to be a lot more that you need to learn. You're going to need a lot more resources than just this podcast, but you are more than likely, especially like I said, physical products, you can probably do that with $100 to $200 or 100, not dollars, 100 to 200 listings. If you're looking at print on demand or digital products, which we will break down here in a few minutes, you are looking at 2,000 to 5,000 listings. And so you really have to grind. It's going to take some time. And by grind, I just mean discipline yourself. Like people hear grind and like hustle culture. And I'm just like, yeah, all I'm saying is you have to discipline yourself to do the work every day. You can't like spend one Saturday and do like 10 listings and then not look at it again until 2 weeks later or a month later. You need to be putting aside time like 5 days a week or 7 days a week, even if it's just an hour, to get more going. And again, when you're having to actually make a product, physically make a product, that time, that's how I started, was with a physical product. And it got difficult because I was spending so much time making the product. It was hard to find the time to innovate and create new products, which I knew I would need to do to stay relevant. So hopefully that gives you a little perspective on like what are you looking at and your goals of how much you want to make or what you want this to be and how it's going to affect the actual actions you need to take. Was it last week? Yeah, I did a goal setting episode, just the last episode before this. So it would have been, I haven't actually done the production for this episode yet, so I'm not sure what the number is. So it would have been episode 162, 2025 goal setting for your Etsy shop. Another hard-hitting, great episode where you'll hear more about the numbers and how to make that work. This is more to kind of get you started. Are you brand new to Etsy, about to get started, or struggling a bit to find your groove? What I'm about to say is just for you, okay? I can completely relate to where you're at because I think I can help you achieve success faster. When I first started my Etsy shop, it was not one of those success stories that we hear on the big YouTube channels, even on this podcast, where I just had crazy success and it took off right away. All right. I all but failed for my first 6 months, just like a lot of new sellers. And so it's very relatable. And the issue for me was I didn't understand demand, for one. I didn't understand SEO. I was way too broad in my search terms. And I didn't know how to position my product so that customers just couldn't help but click add to cart. And so once I learned those things, I went from making about $25 a month in sales to $6,000 a month and up. And in the holidays, I would even have $13,000 months, like at my shop's peak. And the thing about me, if you've been here for a minute, you already know this. I'm a terrible gatekeeper, okay? When I figure something out, when I crack a code, when I get excited, I cannot help but tell everybody who wants to listen. It's like either my best asset or my toxic trait. I can't decide. But I put everything that you need to know to fill that beginner knowledge gap into a low ticket, just under 3 hours beginner course that I have called 6-Figure Secrets to Getting Started on Etsy. In it, I'm teaching you how to find what's in demand for your niche, how to find and use trends, how to start your shop if you're worried about that part, SEO strategy to find the micro niches where the opportunity is, how to understand the Etsy algorithm, and a ton more. The whole thing is bite-sized videos, not long form, just small bite-sized videos, zero fluff, and to the point. You could get the course today, go through the less than 3 hours over the next couple days, launch your shop this weekend, and have sales coming in as soon as Sunday. So let's get you the few missing pieces of the Etsy success puzzle, those little tweaks you need to make so you can start making the sales that you deserve, because I have never been more convinced that there is room at this table on Etsy for everyone. And the opportunity is so ripe right now. I am in the numbers, in the data every day, and my mind just keeps expanding on the possibilities, okay? So as a special treat, use the code SAVE50 to save $50 on the 6-Figure Secrets course today. That's $50 off with the coupon SAVE50. And by all means, DM me or shoot me an email when those sales start popping, because I want to celebrate with you. So from there, let's talk about, okay, we kind of know what our goal is. What should you sell? And also a very nuanced question. There are several, like I said, on Etsy, you need to either be the designer and or maker of the product. And you can use the help of AI to design and to make, and you can use the help of third-party companies to manufacture, to like make and or ship your product. There's no problem with that. What you can't do is buy something else in bulk and then resell it on Etsy. That's not allowed like it is on other websites. So there are several different product types that are very popular on Etsy. The first one, and the one Etsy was originally known for, is the handmade physical product. So if you think about, you think about the crafter and you're going to Etsy for something unique and handmade and high quality and all of that. And that was like tried and true original Etsy. And those kinds of products still do phenomenally on Etsy. I find that sellers are less and less kind of generally interested in doing handmade products because they take so much time. But if you are someone who loves to work with your hands, as many of us are, it can be a spectacular, and by the way, I'm going to get into some pros and cons here in a few minutes, but it is by far the most in-demand type of product on Etsy. But basically, handmade physical product is the first one. You make it, you ship it, and or there are times when you get big enough, or if you've got seed money coming into this, that you can design something and then have a factory, have a manufacturer make it for you. You don't have to be the actual maker. You can do a handmade product and be the designer. You can even have them ship it, or you can ship it however you want. You've just got to be the designer. So handmade. The next one is a type of product called print on demand. And I want to talk about it a little bit because not everyone actually knows what that is. There are these bigger companies that have all of the things in stock. Okay, they have all these big printing machines, these big, direct transfer printers, screen printing, whatever it is. Like they'll make t-shirts for you. They will make mugs for you. Honestly, these days they have hundreds of products that you can choose from. And so what happens is you create a design on the computer using, like I recommend Canva and Kittl. Those are both two websites that are design platforms that are excellent for making designs. And then you, like through their website, you put the design onto the product where you would want it. You're like telling the company, here's how you're supposed to print this shirt. Here's where the design goes. And then if you list it in your Etsy shop, and if someone buys it, then the order goes through your Etsy shop to the print on demand company, and they print it and ship it. So you don't have to have machines. You don't have to have inventory. You don't have to have stacks of t-shirts. You don't have to ship anything. Print on demand. It's extremely popular. There's pros and cons that we'll talk about. But if you wanted to sell something physical, because we know physical products do so great, but you don't have the time or don't want to have to touch the product, it's a great solution to that. And there's a ton of content and a ton of amazing success stories where you could learn about that more and sell that. It'll be a good fit for some of you. And then the third really popular type of product on Etsy is called a digital product. And this is where you're not sending anything physical. You're selling to the customer a file, downloadable art, where they can print it out, a template, like usually be for something like an invitation, and you'll send a digital template. This year for Christmas, I think I don't know if we got any Christmas cards, maybe two or three. They were all digital, the ones that we got. So a template, downloadable art, a digital image file, and so like a pattern, if you like to knit or sew or something like that, a pattern. And then these types of files are delivered as a PDF, a JPEG, or a PNG file. Typically one of those three. There's others as well, SVGs. And what's amazing about this is you do all the work beforehand. You create the whole product, on Canva, in Microsoft Word, on Kindle, wherever it is that you want to create this product. You might have like there might be a pattern software you use. And then you save the file, you upload it to your Etsy listing, and when the customer purchases, Etsy just automatically gives them the file. So what I love about it is that when I hear that cha-ching on my phone, I don't have to do anything else. I remember in our big sign shop, sometimes we were so busy, I'd get a cha-ching, and instead of being like, woohoo, I'd cry. I'd be like, I can't make another sign. And then in print on demand, it was easier, right? Because I don't have to do anything. But then I'm kind of like, you still have to wait for them to make it and ship it, and the shipping has to go smoothly, and you're hoping nothing was wrong with it. You're waiting to hear from the customer. I'm over dramatizing it a little bit, but I just want you to know what a beautiful life it is only selling digital products right now. So handmade, print on demand, digital products. There's two other types that we're not going to go into any more detail than what I'm about to say, but it's good for you to know. One of them is you can sell supplies to help others craft or celebrate. So while in most cases you can't buy something in bulk and then sell it on Etsy, this would be the exception. If it's party supplies, if it's like jewelry making supplies, crafting supplies, supplies can be sold on Etsy, and that would be the one thing that you could buy in bulk and then and resell. And then the other one is vintage items can be sold on Etsy. So if you really love, like you love your spare time, like this is something you're interested more in, like a little bit of side hustle money, you just kind of want to have fun with it. Vintage could be really fun for you, especially if you love to do things like go to estate sales or go thrifting. You love to go to garage sales and find really unique things, because things that are 20 years old or older that you source can be sold under the vintage category on Etsy. So super fun. There's lots of people who enjoy it. There's certainly a market for it on Etsy. It probably wouldn't be, it would be one of the highest hassles and like kind of lowest financial reward, but not to say you can't make money from it. We had someone on the podcast a while ago. She sold vintage and did really well with it, and she was really happy with her results. Episode 91, her name is Jenny Harris. She was so lovely. Really, really cool story about vintage. If you want to look into that, go back to episode 91. So let me talk through some of the pros and cons of these different, the top three that I mentioned. So pros and cons of handmade products. The pros, handmade products are always in high demand. This means it's easier to get sales on Etsy. And that there's a lot to be said for that, especially if you make your products very giftable, because people tend to be shopping on Etsy for gifts. Number two, there's a high profit margin potential because you're doing it all. So I sold wood signs for as much as $200, and some sell furniture pieces for thousands of dollars. So you can make quite a bit more money with the physical product. You have total control of your product quality, which was something that I really liked as a bit of a control freak. You will know exactly what you shipped out, what condition it was in when you shipped it, and you'll be able to stand by your craftsmanship. And that is really nice. Number four, if you package it yourself, you can create like a really delightful unboxing experience, which shoppers freaking love. You probably know that, right? Like there's nothing like a really special unboxing experience. And this is the stuff that people love to post about on their socials, and they'll give your business more exposure. Word of mouth can really help. Number five, so long as you design the product, you can use a third party to manufacture and or ship it. So this will save you lots of time and work once the order comes in. If you want to do something handmade or physical like that, but you don't necessarily want to do all the work. The cons are, number one, it can take a lot of time and work if you make each product yourself. We really, we made hundreds of thousands of dollars from our sign shop, but it was a slog because we had to source the wood, process the wood. My husband built the signs. Then he would sand the signs. Then I would paint the signs. Then I'd paint the lettering on the signs. Then I would wrap the signs. Then I would buy. There were so many steps. It was just a lot of work. So when you actually look at the hourly wage, it doesn't feel so bright and shiny as multiple six figures anymore because it was just a grind. It doesn't have to be, right? There's different physical products, but it can take a lot of time and work. Number two, third-party companies that can make and or ship your product are often costly. So when you do bring in the help, that's wonderful, but it takes a big chunk out of your profit. So you have to watch those numbers because you're also paying for the Etsy platform, right? They're the Etsy fees. Number three, Shipping will occasionally cause issues like breakage and missing mail or missed delivery, and those things can be a headache. So just something to be aware of. Let's talk about print on demand for a few minutes. Yes, I do. I was going to say I've got a company I want to recommend because I've worked with a couple of them. So pros for print on demand products, or sometimes you'll see it as POD. So if you see a capital POD on Etsy, it's like referencing print on demand. Number one, you have the benefit of selling a physical product without having to make or ship it yourself. So you save buckets of time. Number two, you don't have to have any inventory or machines. Number three, you have tons of product options now. There are literally hundreds. You don't have to just do t-shirts or mugs or canvas tote bags. There's a lot of variation now of things you can offer. Number four, it's really easy to customize your products to the current trends. This is a whole different rabbit hole that we could go down, but one of the ways to really stay relevant on Etsy and have ongoing success, because you're going to have to keep adding new listings. Like the signs that sold in the very beginning for me went out of fashion, like the quote or whatever that I was painting on it. Maybe after a year or two, people weren't buying it anymore. And so I needed to be adding other things. So you can, for print on demand, it's very easy to just make a new design and tweak and leverage current trends. Number five, you can use mock-ups for your listing images if you're not a good photographer. A mock-up is a base photo of a product that doesn't have the design on it. So imagine if it would be like a picture of a person just wearing a blank t-shirt. And then you use a tool like Canva to take your design and put it on there. So you don't have to go buy every single shirt you design. You can use the mock-up and you can test the design before it's ever made. And like actually, pro tip, I did this for my signs. At first, I was just willing to do anything under the sun, and I had all these different sizes and shapes and designs and things like that. And I learned pretty quickly to standardize what I offer because it made like shipping easier. I knew I had my standard boxes. I just had my standard wrapping, and I knew, it was just all like you had these 4 or 5 choices. And so then also it allowed me to have mock-ups. So I would stage my sign on a wall, or I had a really good picture of mine on a table, and it was just the blank wood sign. It was just like base painted white. But then I could upload that picture that I took of that staged sign into Canva, and I could put the new lettering on that picture, and I could test it on Etsy and see if people would buy it before I even made one. Because I knew I could paint it exactly like I was showing it on the design. So I digress, just because you can literally use mock-ups for any type of product. You just have to really, for physical products, you have to be pretty standard. But for print on demand, all you use is mock-ups. And that is super helpful and can save a lot of time. Number 6 is mock-ups can also mean you can easily test new products without making them. I already mentioned that, but not bad to reiterate. I wanted to recommend, if you're thinking about print on demand, the company that I really liked the best was Printify. They had the best profit margins of the ones that I tried. They have the best catalogs, and they have the best customer service. So there's other companies you can look at, and for certain specialized things that might be better, but I really, really liked Printify. I have a code if you want to try so there's basic Printify, and then there's Printify Premium. And if you have a premium membership, you get 20% off on their products, and that really helps your profit margins. Like that's partly how some of these sellers that you'll see will have lower prices, is they're paying for premium and they're just moving volume. But my code is LIZZIESMILEY, LIZZIESMILEY. That's going to be all caps and no space in between. LIZZIESMILEY. I'll have a link, and I'll have that in the description for you for ease. But you can get 30 days of Printify Premium free if you use that code, and that is going to help you so much to get started. It'll just before you start making sales, as you start making sales, you can be getting that better profit margin. So check out Printify. Cons to print on demand. 1, you don't have control over the creation of the product. Number 2, sometimes products can get past quality control with misprints and or other defects. I did have instances where I did print on demand for a while, and I sold some shirts and they got printed all wonky, and the customer's asking me like, why would you ship this to me? And so I'm just like, well, I wouldn't ever, I wouldn't have let this happen. So you're having to kind of finesse that. But again, you can come up with a script and just say, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry that happened. I'm sure it was a real disappointment to open that. I'm not sure how this got past our quality control, but I'm going to chat with our team and then accommodate the customer, right? There's ways you can get around it, and just be really empathetic and kind and take care of it for the customer. And that's just one of the downsides. Like, to be honest with you, we had employees in the sign shop, and there were problems sometimes. It's just that it didn't ship out without me seeing it. But quality control happens. Number 3, you can't provide a special unboxing experience. It's going to be pretty standard. They wrap them in a poly mailer. You can't make it special. Number 4 in the cons, the fulfillment company costs take a portion of your profits, of course. They're doing the work for you, so you're going to lose some profit on that. Depending on which products you use, you can expect about a $5 to $10 profit margin on things like t-shirts and sweatshirts most of the time when you do print on demand. And that's just a little, that's not super high. That wasn't like you could make a lot more than that with a physical product. Number 5, shipping will occasionally cause issues like breakage, missing mail, or missed delivery, same as physical products. Number 6, with print on demand, it's easier for copycats to steal your design concepts. So since it's not something handmade, really unique, unique photo of your own photography or anything like that, it's easier, depending on what you design, for someone else on Etsy to see it, especially if you're starting to sell it a lot. So it's like it's got a popular now badge or a bestseller badge, or it's performing well. Other sellers can see that, and they can copy it and sell it themselves. Because it would be basically impossible to copyright every single design that you do. So copycats are going to be more of a problem with print on demand and digital products than they are on physical products. With physical products, what happens more often is the big dropper shipper companies, like the Chinese companies and everything. A lot of times I'll hear for physical handmade products, we usually have really, really good photos. And so the drop shippers steal our photos and use them to sell their own like cheaper version of the product on another platform. That gets very obnoxious. Again, not to like discourage you, just to kind of put something in the back of your head. Like, here are some of the things. Like, here's the reality, my friend. When you go into business for yourself, it's more of like, I know that right now, maybe your boss is the biggest headache in your life and your job is potentially soul sucking, or there's just frustrations. Like, they just change when you go into business for yourself and you have these kinds of headaches. Personally, for me, I think they're far superior than when I worked in corporate America, but there are going to be certain things, and one of the things you'll have to work on is your mindset. If you tend to be kind of negative, you're really going to have to work on that when you get into working for yourself, and because otherwise it'll just drag you down. So you have to work on. I like the phrase, everything is figure outable. Great book by Marie Forleo, but I think it's a really perfect kind of summarizes the attitude that you need to have. Some of it's going to really stink. Some of it's going to be really hard. Some of it you're not going to know what to do right away, but everything is figure outable and you can figure it out. And like, that's part of why this community that is here around me is so wonderful, because like in our free Facebook group, we're very kind and we help each other figure stuff out. So it's going to be okay. Let's see. What do I want to say next? Okay, let's actually go on to pros and cons of selling digital products on Etsy. Number 1, so pros, it's a semi-passive income. Once you make the product once and you can resell it over and over and over again. Number 2, no work is required post-sale, like post to ching. Number 3, they're generally easy to make. Not always. Sometimes they can be like, and then, I mean, the good news is you can charge more for the ones that are more intricate. Like, some people literally sell entire website templates as a digital product on Etsy for like, WordPress or Kajabi or Squarespace or Shopify. They literally, like, they're good at designing websites, and so they'll sell. So that's difficult to make, but they can make a couple $100s on a sale, and once they've made it once, the product, they can resell it over and over. So yeah. Number 4, there's no shipping or inventory. Number 5, you can sell internationally very easily because there's no shipping. Number 6, unlimited sales potential. So you're not limited by inventory or supplies. I can't tell you the number of times, like holidays, we'd run out of, like, we wouldn't be able to get more of the paint that we needed for the signs or something like that. So, oh my gosh, and during COVID it was the worst. Number 7 is digital products are super eco-friendly. You're just not dealing with any fossil fuels, anything. Super eco-friendly. Cons, Number one, there's really high competition. You have to understand demands. Not demands, demand, what's in demand on Etsy. You have to understand trends. You need to understand micro niches. You're going to need to just sharpen your skills that way. Con number two, just like print on demand, the potential for copycats, much higher in digital products because they're easier to make. Number three, there's typically a lower profit margin. These are not things that are selling for $200 typically, like my signs. Obviously, you can with websites, but a lot of times digital products are under $10, under $5 even. Number four, you are going to have to be a good designer and you're going to have tech skills. I'm not really tech savvy, like naturally. I've had to develop it. So let me just encourage you, if you do struggle with that, this is, again, everything is figure outable. You can develop it. You've just got to give yourself a longer runway. Okay, the person who's coming into this and they're going to sell digital products and they've been a graphic designer for 5 years, they're going to go faster than the person who is still learning their computer, figuring out how to double click, wondering like how to, just like kind of can struggle with technology a little bit. You can do it. I've worked with clients, with students, not like school students, but students of mine who went from not having good tech skills to making really cool designs. But you do have to develop that, and you've got to give yourself grace depending on where you're at. Con number 5, some customers require extra tech support. So it's not really that bad at all, but sometimes they can't find the file, or they don't understand how to download it, or they're like wondering why you didn't ship something. And and so you will have to provide that support, but it's not a big deal at all. Are you a print-on-demand or digital product Etsy seller who's tight on time or still learning all of the Etsy secrets? I totally remember the days of having no idea what product to create next before I learned how to make those informed decisions so I can really identify with where you're at. I know how stressful and frustrating it can be to just create listing after listing and see little to no results. You wonder what you're doing wrong, and you just want someone to tell you what to create that's actually going to sell. Where are those opportunities? So let me give you a leg up with my weekly trends and opportunities report. You just join my membership, and every Monday, I'm going to send you an email with a list of exactly what is trending right now, with a video tutorial showing you how I found those trends and how to apply them in your shop. We're taking guesswork and extensive time off of your table. I'm also going to send you 5 print-on-demand and digital product opportunities that are growing in demand right now, helping new shops make sales and still have very low saturation in the marketplace. So your tight schedule, your newbie status doesn't have to hold you back anymore. I'm going to help you earn while you learn. You can grab my free demo to start and see an example of what the weekly trends and opportunities email looks like right from the show notes. See what you're going to get, and I will see you on the inside soon. Let's talk through kind of like your next steps, like what you need to do, because we've covered a lot of information about the different things that you can sell. I want to just give you like kind of your marching orders. So based on what we've talked about, the first thing I would do is I would go start searching on Etsy. If any of those things jumped out at you, it's time to just go to Etsy.com and start doing some searches. So let's say that print on demand is what really spoke to you. You love the idea of a physical product, but you don't actually have to make it. That sounds really fun. You kind of love the fashion piece. By the way, I'm not recommending that. In fact, of the 3, print on demand is actually my least favorite, but people do incredibly well with it. There's no wrong answer. You've got to, I'm just saying that to be vulnerable with you about, it's okay to have something that doesn't sound good. Some people are like, absolutely no physical products. I'm getting ready to launch a whole new physical product, now that I'm all in on this. And I'm otherwise really, really a big proponent of digital products. So let's just, for the sake of it, let's do print on demand. And what you're going to do is you're going to go to Etsy and you're going to go look at some bestsellers. You're going to go maybe search women's t-shirts. Or candles are another big one for print on demand. Or what would be another one? I think mugs have too low of a profit margin. I don't really recommend it. Maybe like sweatshirts or hoodies, okay? You're going to go search, and there's a little trick to filter by bestseller, because when you go to the normal filters on the search bar on Etsy, there's not a bestseller option. But if you filter by star seller, this is probably too technical to tell you on here, but if you go watch almost any of my tutorial videos on YouTube, which I'm going to link one for print on demand that literally everyone should watch because it's going to tell you this process. You're going to click star seller, filter by star seller, and then you're going to go up to the address bar where the URL is, and you just have to search all of that text where the URL is for where the word star is. There'll be underscore the word star underscore seller in there in that long thing. You're just going to replace the word star with the word best. If you totally lost me, don't worry. I'm going to show this to you visually if you go watch this YouTube video I'm going to suggest. The YouTube video is going to show you, it's for print on demand, but it could be applied to anything. So just use what I teach you in that and apply it to whatever it is that you want to sell. In this video, we go and we search for look what I'm telling you. You go search for like women's t-shirts, or it would have, for me, it would have been wood signs, or for the digital product person, it would be printables or PNGs. You're going to search that. You're going to filter by bestseller, and you're going to look for the new shops that have bestsellers. And that's how you're going to be able to see where there's some holes and opportunities in the market before you have any kind of third-party tool to give you data like I'm going to suggest in a few minutes. Just go look at the bestsellers who sell what you want to sell and let that inform your process, inform what it is you're going to make. So if you're like, I for sure want to do shirts, well, go get inspired by the bestsellers and figure out who you kind of want your audience to be. And don't feel like you've got to pigeonhole yourself in. I know it is a good thing ultimately to kind of choose a niche, but one of the biggest mistakes I see is a new seller comes in, they've never done e-commerce before, they don't have strong design skills, they've never done marketing, this is all brand new. I think you should let the best sellers that are existing now, especially the ones for new shops, you can tell it's a new shop because if you look on any Etsy search results, it'll show you how many reviews that listing, like the shop for that listing has in little parentheses. Again, this will look much better visually for you on the YouTube video I'm going to link. But the ones that have under 1,000 reviews or under 500 reviews, those are typically newer shops. So those are the best sellers I really like to focus on, because I know that a newer shop or a slower growing shop is ranking as a bestseller for that product. And that tells me that there's maybe an opportunity for me as a new shop to rank for that product. So go look at the bestsellers in the niche that you like and the product type you like, and let that inspire you. And then go create your first product. Go create one, try one, just go into Canva and create it. Or if you're going to make a handmade product, go make some, make even up to 5. Make sure you like making it. Figure out how you want to deliver it. Like if you're going to be shipping it, what would your packaging be? If it's going to be digital, is it a PDF? Do you need to do anything design-wise for the PDF? Kind of figure out your process. So that's like your first step, the research, look at the bestsellers, create your first product or 5, and then open your shop. I know that sounds crazy, but you need to trust me. I've been doing this since 2016 or 2015. I can't even remember. I've made hundreds of thousands of dollars on Etsy. I've worked with thousands of students. You need to just open your shop because this is all going to make much more sense once you can get in there and feel around. You have to experience it. You can't just do this all in your head, okay? It would be like playing chess without a chessboard. You've got to have it in front of you so you can move the pieces around and see what works for you. Etsy, it's going to be very simple. When you go to Etsy and you open a shop, you don't really need like there are all over Etsy, or Etsy on YouTube, you could find like a click-by-click shop setup. I also offer them inside my courses if you really like that hand-holding of like, here's exactly. But really, Etsy is going to lead you step by step through opening your shop. And like I said in the very beginning, the most important thing is you just answer that information honestly. I am not a lawyer and I cannot give you legal advice in terms of suggesting how you structure your business. But what I can tell you is that Etsy only requires your social security number in order to open a shop. I have interviewed an attorney friend who specializes in Etsy on this podcast. She very much recommends an LLC. You could go back and listen to any of those legal episodes that you want. She recommends an LLC just to help protect you. However, Etsy does not require that. So you don't have to go through a whole bunch of hoops. You could test this first and see if you even want to do it before you opened an LLC from Etsy's perspective. Again, I can't tell you how to structure it. So this isn't legal advice. I'm just kind of letting you know what the choices are. Open the shop, go through the steps. All you have to have is a social security number. A lot of people get stuck on picking their shop name. I want to tell you it's actually not that important. I would suggest best tips. Number 1, make sure it's memorable, very easy to remember, and make sure it's easy to spell. So if someone's trying to come back and find your shop again, they could just type the shop name in the search bar and find you that way. I don't think it has to be directly referencing what you make because you might change it later on. But then also please know that you can change your shop name. Like on Etsy. So don't sweat it too much. And then at the very end of the listing set of the shop setup, when you're opening it, again, it takes maybe 20 minutes. It's not bad at all. Very simple. You're mostly just inputting your personal information. But before you can open it completely, they'll require you to set up at least one listing. That's why I said to create your product, so you have something to put there. If you don't want to, sometimes what I'll do if I'm like not ready to create the product yet, or there's like some reason why, you can open it with kind of like a dummy product. So I'll just put like a placeholder in there. Like I'll set it up as a digital product and I'll just have one picture that I made in Canva of anything. It'll even just say like test product on, a JPEG image. And I'll put that in as the product picture and as like the downloadable product. And then as soon as the shop opens, I go in and I put that product into drafts. It's all just right in there where you can go into your listings and change whether or not they're published or draft. You can just put it in draft if you really want to skip the make your first product. I think it's a good idea to make the first product because there's something about that and opening the shop that seems to be such a big linchpin for people. Like they feel so overwhelmed by those steps. And I feel like once you've done them, you kind of go, whew, okay, all right, that's done. And it maybe like opens up more space in your brain, more capacity, more for creativity, if you can just get those behind you. So those are the first thing, the kind of your next step of what you need to do. From there, there's some things that you need to learn. One of the first things that you'll need to do on that listing, especially if you're using a real product, is you need to give some thought to the title of the product, the tags, which are also on the listing that you set it up, and that's the tags are going to be keywords, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, and then also your listing description. So it's a good thing to have that kind of. That's like it's gonna be kind of a big bite. But then once you have it, what I do is whenever I'm adding a new listing after I've made the first one, I copy the original. So I'm not starting from scratch. I've got something to work off of. So you're just creating, that draft is going to be a huge deal for you. It's going to save you a lot of time. After you, and so here's the thing too, I personally think it's important for you to learn about SEO, which is search engine optimization. I'm going to give you in a few minutes, I'm going to give you a list of what you need to learn. I also highly recommend an SEO tool to help you so you're not just flying in the dark. You can have some really good help. If you watch that YouTube video I mentioned that's going to show you how to find hot opportunities for print on demand, it'll show you exactly how to use this tool. And like I said, you can apply the same information I need to get more videos up there doing this, but for digital products and physical products. So I think it helps to use that to enhance your listings as you go. You also need to create a couple of branding pieces when you start your shop. So some things you need to have ready. You don't have to do it right when you open, especially again, if you're going to like just put your first listing into drafts, you're not going to just be totally open yet. You're going to need a shop banner, which is a long, thin graphic that goes at the top of your shop. I will link there's in the Etsy handbook, it'll tell you the exact dimensions to do for these things. And you're just going to go into Canva and tell them what dimensions you want, and that's where you can design it. So you're going to have your shop banner, super simple. It doesn't need anything complicated. If you have several products ready, something really easy you can do is even just do like a collage of your products that you've made so far. The second thing you're going to need is a logo. It's just going to be a little square logo. Keep it very simple. Canva will have templates for this, so will Kittl. So if you go in and you just say you want to make a logo, you can look at all of the ones there. They'll have hundreds of them, and you can pick one and kind of customize it to your own shop name. But I'd say keep it very simple. It doesn't need to be ornate. And remember that most people are looking on their phones at your thing. So like that logo is going to be itty bitty in your Etsy shop. Don't sweat it too much. And then the other thing is you're going to need graphics to go inside your listing. So not only will you have pictures of your product, but it's recommended that you include like graphics, because I'm going to actually give you a pro tip right now. You ready? Most shoppers will not read the listing description. You still should have all the details in there because there will be some type A wonderful people, I love them, who will go and look at them. Also, it helps you if there's like a problem later on, you can be like, well, it was in the description, if there's a problem with a customer. But most people will not read the description. So the most important information you also need to put in your photo gallery, because that's what they do is they go through all the photos. So your photos need to answer any questions they can have about your product. It's a really, really big pro tip. So you'll use Canva or Kittl to go ahead and create those branding pieces. Again, I'll have the dimensions for you in the show notes of this episode. And then the next thing I'm going to suggest that you do is get a third-party SEO tool. I highly recommend Everbee. I have tried several of these tools. It is by far my favorite. It will integrate into, you have to have Google Chrome, which you should be able to put Chrome on any computer or laptop that you have. You cannot do it on a phone or a tablet. You need a computer for this part. But what it does is it integrates into Etsy.com and you connect your shop. And what Everbee does is it gives you so much data that will give you every edge you need to make this work, especially if you came in here and you were the one who said, yeah, Lizzie, my goal is to make really good money. I want to do this fast. I want to do this hard. I want to make a lot of money. This will save you. You can do it without this. They didn't even exist back when I did it. But in today's competitive marketplace, tools like Everbee will change the game. Again, not to like beat a dead horse, but watch that print on demand opportunities video because it's going to show you how this works. But basically, Everbee is going to help you mine competitor data on Etsy. Since like the way that you establish demand and trends and things like that on Etsy is you look at what's happening in the competition and you're able to let that inspire your decisions. There's all this information that you can't just see on Etsy. You can't see anything about your competition other than just seeing their listing. But when you use a tool like Everbee in your browser, in your Chrome browser, you can see how many views their products get. You can look at their listing and you can see everything at a glance. How many views, how many times it's been purchased, how much money that listing is making them, what keywords they're using in their tags to help shoppers find them, how many times per month shoppers search the keywords that they're using, how many other competing listings there are for that word or phrase. The data that's available when you use a tool like this is insane. It's totally compliant with Etsy. They're like an approved partner. And it will give you, like, it might help you to see this visually. So I'll see you on YouTube in a few minutes, but it's going to save you so much time. You have no idea. You can crack Etsy 10 times faster than I did. If I got to like several $1,000s a month within like in about month 6 of my my Etsy journey, you can do it in 2 to 3. If you use a tool like this effectively and you make a really high quality product, like it just changes the game. So, we've covered a ton. I know that you've got a lot to go forward with, and I just want to put a few other, maybe come back to this episode a few times. There's a lot here. I think the more that you can listen to it, the more these layers will absorb. But there's a few things that you're going to need to learn going forward. So we've talked about what you can sell, what do you want to sell, what are your goals for it, what are your next steps in getting your shop open, getting a couple of products made, getting kind of your basic branding in place. But from here, there's a few things you need to learn. The first one is how the marketplace works, okay? It is a search engine. So just because you build it and you put it on Etsy doesn't mean they'll come. Things sell on Etsy when they're already in demand. And by that, I mean customers are going to the search bar and typing in that thing. So you need to be selling something that people are searching for. The other part of understanding how it works is understanding the algorithm, which is the equation that helps Etsy decide what to show someone when they've made a search. If I go and I search women's t-shirt, the algorithm is going to be the behind the scenes part of the Etsy website that's going to be like, okay, what do we know about Lizzie? And what are we going to show her as a result of this search? And because they know that if they show someone the same thing over and over again, they're more likely to buy it. They use your past history on the platform to inform what they show you. And that is what's going to happen for your customers. So you need to know how those things work so that you can have the best chance of your product getting in front of the right people. The second part of that is SEO, or it's short for search engine optimization. Don't worry about that, that long thing. All it means is that on your listing, you are using the words that the customer is putting in the search bar. I made a mistake with this with my signs shop in the beginning. I didn't know about SEO. So I just put, because this is what I was making, I just put reclaimed wood sign in my title. Well, it turned out that nobody was searching for reclaimed wood sign on Etsy. They were searching for, handmade wood signs. They were searching for like the particular phrase that they wanted. Maybe like today is a good day for a good day. They were searching for wall decor, but they weren't searching for the word I was using, reclaim wood signs. Once I learned how to change the words on my listing to what they were searching for, I started getting a ton of sales because my product was really good. So we can save you a lot of time. Again, Everbee will literally tell you the words to use. It'll simplify it so much. But you need to learn about SEO. You also have to learn about product positioning. What kind of pictures sell the best? It might not be what you think. And this is something you can actually test by having more than one, for your products, trying some different pictures. What needs to be in the description to help the buyer make a decision to buy? Like, they need to basically have all their questions answered, right? Both in the description and in the photo gallery. So it's product positioning. What does the pricing need to be competitive in the marketplace? The fourth thing is about demand and trends. So what is in demand on the platform? It's changing all of the time. This is why I do a weekly trend report and product opportunities. Like for my digital product and print on demand students, I send them an email every Monday telling them, here's what's in demand. Here's what the trends are. It helps save them a ton of time. You're more than welcome to join, and I'll put a coupon code in the show notes if you'd like to. Save time on that. You're going to learn so much from it. Number 5 is how to streamline your making and listing processes. So how can you do batch work? How could you make things faster? Where can you save time? That'll be a little down the road. So that's one to put aside for just a little bit. And then the final one is how to scale what works. I don't want you to have one hit wonder, okay? I want you to play for a while, get a bunch of listings up, start feeling it out, get familiar with it, see what works, and then you need to learn how to scale it from there. So I know it is a lot, but you're very capable of this. I'm so excited for you. I really believe this is your year. I'm going to be here to help. I hope you'll go back and listen to a whole bunch of other episodes where you'll get into more of the nitty gritty. I'm sure this felt very nitty gritty in some instances, but we go into more detail on each of these things. I was trying to give you an overview of what you need to focus on right now. As you grow as a seller and start having more and more listings, you start getting sales, you start seeing how this works, you're going to have a whole different perspective. So go back and listen to that. If you want to fast track a little bit, I have a course called 6-Figure Secrets to Getting Started on Etsy. It is for all beginners, whether you are selling print on demand, digital products, physical products, this is for you. It is only $97 with a coupon. So it's on like crazy sale. It is less than 3 hours long, but it's gonna like everything we went over, it's gonna go into so much more detail and show you visually over my shoulder. I just like peel it back. It is, this course has sold a ton of people have used it. I get great reviews on it. Check that out if you want to really streamline and have all this broken down for you. The trend report is available. The podcast is available, and I am going to be here every Thursday with more information for you. I literally can't wait to hear your success story, to hear how it goes. Please join our Facebook group if you like. You can put your questions in there, and we'd all love to help you as much as we can. But just don't give up on yourself, okay? There are going to be moments of overwhelm. There are going to be moments of self-doubt. There might be moments where people are discouraging. Like, I couldn't tell you the number of times someone's just like, oh, how's that little Etsy shop going? And let me just tell you, I am not a big, like, braggadocious person, but I was not mad the day that I was able to be like, well, it's actually made us hundreds of thousands of dollars, and now I'm coaching Etsy students. I think that we need to believe in each other. So just give yourself the time and the space to grow. Believe in yourself. You're here. If you're here and you listen to me for the past 60 minutes, you've got it in you. This was meant for you. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to be harder than you think, but it's also going to be better than you think. So stick with me. I'm going to see you next week. Same time, same place. And until then, go open that Etsy shop and you go make something awesome. I love you guys. Talk to you next week. And that's a wrap on this episode of How to Sell Your Stuff on Etsy. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. If you're looking for more resources, head on over to howtosellyourstuff.com, where you'll find podcast show notes, all the links from today's episode, the blog, courses, coaching, and more. If this episode was helpful to you, awesome. The greatest compliment I can receive from you is a rate, review, and subscribe on this podcast. Not only will it allow us to connect again on a future episode, it lets me know I'm providing you with value and helps other people find this content more easily. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for your support. Have a great day and see you next time.